All right, so Jonah asked for some psoas stretches. Um, I'm totally doing this without any sort of plan, so we'll see how this goes. Um, Psoas is a really tough muscle to stretch. Um, it's right to the inside of your hip, um, on your lower abdomen. So if you find your hip point and just kind of go in a little bit, and if you're doing sort of like leg lift crunches and stuff, and you start to ache in here, that's your psoas. And it's what connects your core to your legs. So, like babies and little kids and animals are really connected to their psoas. They can move their legs really easily and their core together, right? And as we get older, we tend to not be as connected to the psoas. So I think the first thing to do is to just kind of connect to it a little bit. So you start on the ground, and you can have your legs out or you can have them bent, and you just kind of get in there. And I used to go to a chiropractor also, and I used to hear that because what happens is it pulls on your lower back. So that's why your chiropractor always wants you to work on your psoas. And Ziggy's gonna come over. Hey, Ziggle. What's up, dude? You gonna show how connected to your psoas you are? So you can just massage in there. Like my chiropractor used to have me lay on the table, and it'd literally just flick. Ziggy, you're in the shot, dude. Come here. Okay. He would flick his hands just to the inside of that muscle, just to massage in there. So you can soften your belly as much as you can and really press. So you've actually got two muscles in there that kind of do the same thing. So you've got the psoas that kind of comes almost horizontally, and then you've got the iliacus. Ziggy's rubbing on the phone. That goes a little more diagonal, but they kind of do the same thing and they kind of overlap. So just kind of massage in there. You can start one side at a time and spend a little time in there. And if you can't soften your belly very easily, if you feel like you're always kind of contracted in there, try that sort of idea of clenching every single muscle and then relaxing, and see if you can really release all muscle tension. And then once you've done that, you can stretch it out a little bit. So you come up into sort of a bridge pose. And this is a good one too, to stretch out the whole front body. And you can just hang out here for a little bit, maybe stretch side to side. And then you can take this into a passive stretch. So if you have a block, or you can stack some books, if you have some big cookbooks or something, and then start to walk the legs out. And if you start to feel any pain in your lower back, bring the legs in. And then maybe don't come up as high. Ziggy. But you really want to kind of drape yourself over this. And then you can even get in there with your fingers, massage one side at a time. And anywhere that's really tight. And spend a good amount of time on that too. And just in the interest of time, I'm going to kind of go through these pretty quickly. And then you get your tennis ball. You flip over. So you're on your belly. And actually, you come up to your knees and you find your psoas again. So you should be able to connect to it pretty easily when you're kneeling here. And then just stick your tennis ball right on that muscle, so you can remember where it is. And then you come all the way down. And then, yeah, you're getting in there. So this might be as much as you can take, right? Maybe you just hang out there and you just kind of use your body to kind of just get in to that muscle. And it looks a little weird. And I would definitely only do it one side at a time. And you can just kind of hang out. You don't have to move or wiggle. You can just hang out in one little trigger point. And I'll tell you, the tennis ball is the most underrated therapeutic tool that you can use. And then if you want, you can start to rock from side to side. You can bend your knee, maybe make some circles. Even just that, you're activating and you're pushing your muscle right into the ball. And I would do this like for at least 5 minutes on each side. If you can do 10 or 20, if you can stand it, it's kind of unbearable. It might make your eyes water. But it's worth it. You might find that your lower back starts to feel better. You might find that you start walking a little easier. It's amazing what this muscle does. So then you just switch sides. So you can either come up into a kneeling, or if you kind of have an idea of where it is, and you should be able to find it just by feel, because it's really tight. And right when you get that bite, that's where it is. So just spend a little time just kind of maneuvering the ball into the muscle. Just trigger point massage for the muscle. And one side is definitely going to feel different because we're not symmetrical. We always favor a side. We might have injuries on one side that make us overcompensate. So all of these movement practices are just to work on getting your body a little bit more symmetrical. And that's why it's a practice that you should work at consistently, just to stay symmetrical, or as symmetrical as you can be. So whatever movements feel like is targeting and just kind of play with it. And if you're really masochistic, maybe if you want to try both at the same time, but that might be a little intense. I did that once. I wouldn't recommend it. And make sure you're not on a squishy carpet or something. You kind of, even this mat is a little too thick. You want the ball to not sink into the surface. You want it to be more pushing up into you. So if you can be on a thin mat or carpet, that's preferable. So once you're done there, lay down. Bring your hips right into the earth. So dig your pelvis into the earth. And then take your hands underneath your shoulders. So you're coming up into sort of a Sphinx pose. Anchor your pelvis, lift your heart forward. And then take your left hand to cross right in front of you. Keep your right shoulder rolling forward, bend your right knee. So if you can, reach back and just reach for your foot. Roll that right shoulder forward. Keep your pelvis anchored into the earth. If you're able to, you can even use a strap. If you have a belt at home, you can kind of pull your heel a little closer to your butt. And that'll get a nice stretch through the quadricep, the front of the thigh. And then switch sides. So find that Sphinx and then cross the arm in front, bend your knee, reach back. Roll that left shoulder forward. Keep the chest lifting forward. Anchor into your pelvis. And then again, if you can pull your heel a little closer to your butt, stretch out, lengthen the quadricep. So the goal for that is just to lengthen a little bit more through the front body. So not just the psoas, but you're also working into the hip flexor and the quadricep. And then come all the way down, forehead touches down, windshield wiper your legs. Just release your lower back. And then press up. Come back into child's pose. So you're stretching out your back body. Stay here for as long as you need. And then when you're ready, you can come up. One more stretch. You can use a block here if you need, or 2 blocks. I only have one of these blocks. So you're stepping one leg forward, and you can have blocks on either side of that front foot. So if your hip flexor, the whole from your knee all the way up here, and your hip flexor is in here, you're stretching out the front of the quadricep and the hip flexor. If your hip flexor is really tight, you want the legs at 90 degrees. If you're a little more open, you can walk the toes out. So you're coming into a deeper stretch. You're squaring the hips to the front. And you can either brace to the top of your leg or have your hands at blocks. And then you're pressing into that front foot and lifting up through the chest. So you're getting that nice stretch all the way up. So if you do feel like you have more space, rather than sending the knee way forward over the ankle, walk the toes out. So you're coming into that deep stretch. And then stay there as long as you want. Switch sides. Both legs at 90 degrees to start, just to test it. And then if you feel like you've got more space, walk the toes forward, press into that front foot a lot, lift up through the chest. And then release. And then you can just stand on your knees, take your hands behind you. So I like my fingertips to face my head rather than to the floor. So you kind of take your thumbs to the outside and then you roll open. So thumbs to the outside and then they kind of turn in. And then the fingertips face up. So what that does is rolls the shoulder open and gives you a nice brace. So a lot of times when we do camel pose, there's this sort of crunching in the lower back, or there's like a leaning back into the legs. So what you want is to use the hands to bypass the lower back, and you're lifting up through the heart and then press the hips out. So see how my hips are pressing forward? And then you can keep your chin forward. You don't have to let the head go. And if that's not working for your wrist, you can have the fingertips pointing down. It's just a different support for your upper body. And only pressing out as deep as you can go. And then come back down. Sit tall. And you can repeat that as many times as you need. So I hope that helps.